Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. I'm Navid. Today we're going to talk about taqasim. Alright, so before we get started, as usual, let me know who you are, where you're from, maybe, and most importantly is how long you've been playing the oud for, and yeah, stuff like that. Anything that will help me understand where you're at right now. You can put that in the chat and I will take a read of that. Before we begin, I'll play a little bit of music here. Not very warmed up today, but let's see how this goes. All right. Thanks so much for writing some comments. Good to see you, Robert. Till, good to see you. Hazem, great to see you. Pierre, thanks for joining. Justin, thanks for coming. All right, so today we're going to talk about Taqsim, especially because this weekend I have a Taqsim workshop happening live on Zoom. And the link to get all the information about that, when it is, how much it costs, you can find that in the link in the description. I'll put it here. And this will be like a little introduction to what Taqsim is, or at least what I've learned it is. And we can discuss Taqsim, get down all your questions. It's really going to be a beginner thing. So hopefully this will fill in some gaps and tell you what this is all about. So, taqasim. Let me first start with a story. One time when I was performing, I had given a performance, and one of my family members had asked me a question after the performance. And they didn't really know what I was doing at the very beginning of the performance. They're wondering, what were you doing at the beginning? Was that tuning, or what were you doing? It wasn't really a song. They didn't really know what was happening at the time. They didn't really know. I was playing something to them, but they didn't really know what that was. Some people are used to just musicians come on stage and they play a song. The rhythm starts happening. But what is happening when an instrumentalist like an oud player comes on stage and then he starts something like this? When somebody does that, anyone would guess. It's anyone's guess if they have no context of what's happening. But I had to explain to him that this was warming up the audience. This was preparing the audience to hear what I'm about to play. And what happens is a musician starts to maybe take a solo, a taqsim, and starts to perform. And create some melodies that kind of come out of the blue. There may be improvisations. And sometimes this is what a taqsim might be if you're seeing a musician like this. Depends on the musical performance, the genre, the type. In Arabic music, you might call this taqsim, especially if it happens in the middle of a performance. Let's say the beginning is not maybe a taqsim. Maybe the beginning of a performance starts with a taqsim. But the bare bones meaning of a taqsim means division. And what does division mean? It basically means the breakdown of joining maqams together. How you divide your solo with these different maqams, or with different parts, different, you could call them different sections of your improvisation. And it's usually going to be non-rhythmical, but sometimes it is performed with like a backbeat, and the instrumentalist moves in and out of the backbeat, the rhythm. A taqsim really shows the ability of the musician to improvise and his or her understanding of the modal repertoire. It's the apex of modal art music. What do I mean by mode? If you look up the definition of what a mode is in English, one definition is a way or manner in which something occurs or is experienced, expressed, or done. And so we're talking ultimately, modes are maqams, or maqams are modes. Each maqam has a modal character to it, a particular way in which things are performed and heard or experienced. So when you go on YouTube and you see a YouTube video and it says Taqsim Bayati, for example, it means an improvised solo which starts in Maqam Bayati, and by means of taqasim, by division, you may go to other modes related or distantly related to Bayati, the original maqam. And usually most maqams come back to Bayati. So that's a very, let's call it a brief introduction of what a taqasim is. And maybe I hope people comment and add their ideas of what taqasim is. I had a misconception myself when I started to experience or started to learn Arabic music, Turkish music, because I understood taqasim to be something different. I came from a background of Persian music, and Persian music has a term called tak navazi. Tak means single or solo. Navazi means playing, so solo performance. And I thought the root of the word tak and taqasim were related, but they're not. So I thought that taqasim basically meant when somebody takes a solo, and but it actually refers to how you break down or divide your taqsim and divide the improvisation by maqam or mode, and how you develop that. So that was my misconception about maqams when I had, or taqasim, when I had come into learning Arabic and Turkish music. And as a beginner, you are going to hear a lot of different taqasim. You're going to hear Turkish taqasim, you're going to hear Arabic style taqasim, and you may hear Persian style, let's call them taqasim. We just call it improvisation or off the cuff playing. What do you need to start learning before you, what do you need to know in order to start learning how to play a taqsim or how to develop this skill? There's a few things, 3 things in particular. You need some technical ability on the instrument. Let's put this at a standard of, let's say you have the ability to play basic songs on the oud. So you can work around the fingers. You know some basic maqams in different, or songs in different maqams. You know how to get around the fingerboard. Not much is stopping you. Maybe your technical ability doesn't have to be super high to start learning how to play a taqsim or how to play taqsim and improvise, but you do have to have some ability. The second thing is the ability to hear a melody and copy it to some degree. Let's say you can copy it 50% or 60%, 70%. Everybody has various degrees of ability to replicate melodies that they hear. So in order to learn a taqsim or learn how to develop the skill, you need external input. You need external input from external sources. The same way your body needs food. Some people have the ability to create beautiful melodies innately, and some people need a little bit of nurturing to develop this skill. But it all comes down to ideas in your head that you put into music. So what do I mean by external input? You need to hear examples of taqsim. You need to hear examples of melody. It's like what you're doing basically is learning a language when you learn the art of taqsim. You're taking all this vocabulary, these phrases, these melodic phrases, and you're basically compiling them. You're learning them, and you do that just by copying. Some people call this ear training. That's a good way to go about it. But it doesn't really answer the question of where does melody come from, or how you do it, or what mode you do it in, how you progress and how you create melodies. That's the other level of taqasim, which takes a lot of time to learn. And nobody's there. I don't have it right all the time. I'm still learning myself. It's an ongoing kind of thing. So the third thing that you need in order to start learning the art of taqsim is the ability to take some risk. You need to not be afraid of playing something wrong, experimenting, going into the unknown, and doing something that doesn't make sense. You're not going to do it right all the time. It's going to take lots of fermentation to get it right and to get into this state of being able to do it off the cuff. The melodies do have to flow through you. So your technical ability is important because you don't want your hands, your physical limits, to stop you from creating these ideas from your head into the instrument. And you also don't want to worry too much about being wrong, playing something wrong. You need to take some risk because that's the only way that you really learn. I always tell this story about when I first tried improvising. I had a good friend in high school who was a percussionist, and we'd jam a lot, and we'd play the same songs. I'd be the one playing the songs, he'd be accompanying me, and we'd get tired of playing the same songs, and so I would just start improvising, try to play along with him, try to jam. And then one time my mom said, "Why don't you play some real songs or real dastgah music. The dastgah is the Persian term for maqam. And that was really annoying at the time because I was trying to create something on the spot. And that's part of the challenge of improvising. That's what being a skilled instrumentalist is. You have to create ideas on the spot in Middle Eastern music anyway. And of course, I was struggling. It was the first time I was trying that. So it got me thinking, what makes something real and not real? What makes something authentic, not authentic? What makes something sound good? What makes something not sound so good? What makes it work and what makes it doesn't work? Or what makes it not work? So you get my point. You have to take risks and you have to try it. And so that it's training, it's ongoing learning. And that's basically how I learned how to improvise. No one taught me how to improvise. But I do see there are certain things I was lucky to have learned on my own. Some people need a little bit of guidance here and there, and that's where things like ear training come in and taqasim workshop. But basically, how I went and did it was really the tough way. I went and put on a recording of my favorite artist and of an improvised section. So I would put on Muhammad Reza Shajarian. He's the greatest singer of all time in Persian music. And I just would listen. And I would listen to that album. This was back in the days of CDs. So, you had certain CDs, you'd listen to them over and over again. And you started to kind of learn what is coming next. And I noticed I could sing what he's doing. He would sing something. I could kind of sing along with him a little bit. So I started to do this on my instrument, and that's how I started to, okay, so he's doing it like this, and he's doing it like this. Okay, I see a pattern happening here. So maybe I'll recreate that pattern, but do it my own way. And that's how you start creating your own taqasim. So for you who are beginning to learn how to play taqasim, what you need to do first, the first step you need to do is first get some of those three things, technical ability, learn to hear a melody and be able to copy it to some degree. That'll always be a skill that you're developing. And the third, don't be afraid, take some risk, try things out. And then the first step you need to do is to take a song you really like. Find a song. Let's see what song we can do. Okay. So there's a song by Farid Al-Atrash. It's called Layli or Layla. So what you need to do is think about this melody. First learn it, first be able to play it, and then think analytically about what's happening in this melody. And really internalize those melodies, make them part of you. So you can be in the shower one day and it can pop into your head and you can sing it. You can do it. You'll just be able to do it. That's how much you got to learn the song. Then try to separate the melody from the rhythm in your head. I'll show you what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an abstract thing out of it. So the melody has a starting point and an ending point. So you can take that melody and you can separate it from the rhythm, the strict rhythm that it was already put in, the box that it was put in, take it out of that box, and then play the notes kind of in a flowing manner, in a non-rhythmical way. And then, now I'm able to do this very easily because I have experience doing it, but what I'm doing is I'm putting my own spin on it. I'm taking it out of that rhythmical box and I'm putting my own spin on it. The melody started on the A note and it ended on the A note. So I'm doing something that follows the contour of that melody and returns to that. And then let's say the next melody, what happens there? Okay, it goes one note lower. Okay, so what can I do with that? What can I do with that melody? It starts on G, it ends on G. So I've created something that's similar to the main melody of the song, but not quite. I've put my own thing on it. I've taken it out of the box. And then you can think about where the song ends. So maybe you take a couple of these melodies, you do this, and where do you go next? Okay, think about where the song goes and ends. So at some point he did this repetitive melody, and then did it one note lower, and then repeated. And then he had this melody. Ended here. So something happened very repetitive around the B flat. And then he went up to the octave. And he used B half flat going up to the octave. And he came all the way down and returned to the tonic, the sort of home base of Maqam Hijaz. So as you learn repertoire, you see these patterns. You start to internalize these patterns, or you could call them templates of what's happening. And you can take them out of their boxes, you can steal these melodies, and you can turn them into your own melodies and create your own taqsim out of it. That's the very, very first step, something you could do. Then later on what you can do is listen to somebody else's taqasim, another oud player you like, or I always recommend the improvisations and taqasim of Munir Bashir because he plays very sparse. He plays one melody and then there's a lot of silence. He doesn't go all over the place like some artists do. Some other oud style players do. He gives a lot of space, so it gives you time to digest that melody, and you can really figure it out. It can sit with you. The longer that these things sit with you, the more you get to know them. So you can listen to those types of taqasim and try to copy them. Of course, your physical ability on the oud is going to limit in what you can actually replicate, but you keep working at it. You keep working at it. So that's my little introduction for anyone who's trying to learn taqsim for the first time or trying to get into it. Don't be afraid. Just try your best to copy melodies as you hear them. That's one of the first steps. And then when you're ready, when you've got that technical ability, you can start thinking about your favorite songs, where they start, where they end, what's happening, what notes are being paused on. You'll notice when I play a certain taqsim, like I may pause on certain notes longer than others. And that creates certain sounds. That creates a certain pattern that maybe is something that other people are doing. It's tapping into a certain pattern. And so you hear something that's common. There's a common link between, one person playing this, another person playing the same thing. And there's a link there. You can see that, okay, there's a tradition happening. There's a thing. So one of these things that happens is taqasim from Farid al-Atrash. He's got this particular lick he always plays in his taqsim that are in Maqam Bayat. So he always does this lick. Now everybody has kind of copied him and put this lick into their own playing. So you hear all the artists who are working on their taqsim, they're kind of doing this. They're kind of stealing everybody's melodies. But this is how you create a tradition of, an oral tradition of passing down the mode. It goes back to mode, the manner in which something occurs or is heard in this case or experienced. So that's all about taqsim and modal music. And so in order to teach taqasim, I've created my own, or I'm working on creating my own templates. And these are just basically notations that show you the contour of certain melodies, what notes to use, what's exactly why these notes are used, and what they're doing. And you just follow it along. There's no rhythm. There's basically just notes on a page. But you can also do this following by ear too, because there's descriptions of what it is. And we can analyze these, we can follow these templates in terms of the names of different ajnas. Ajnas are the tetrachords or building blocks of maqams that build on each other or get replaced, supplanted by different tetrachords that create. We can look at it in different sections. You can think of it. You can think of a maqam as the first 4 notes of the maqam, and then the next 4 notes or the next 3 notes, all the way to the octave. You can divide and identify. Okay, what's the character, the jins of this particular set of notes? What's the feeling there? What's the sound? How do they interact? What's the intervals? You can look at that and you can see how they interact, and that's what the template is for. And in the workshop, it's beginner friendly. We'll use simple melodies to kind of go through a template and follow, and see where you end up and what to do in a taqsim. And this is just one starting point, one way that you can learn a taqsim or learn how to taqsim, to play a taqasim that can perhaps help you and further your development. So that's it for me. I hope you guys have put down some questions. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the workshop that I'm doing, or anything that I've discussed here. It is a big, what's it called? A big subject. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Let's see here. So I'm gonna start by going through the chat. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Bubble. Thanks so much for your kind words. All right. Again, yeah. Yeah. I totally understand what you mean. Sometimes we have good days and bad days. It's not flowing all the way. Sometimes it flows really nice. Sometimes you didn't even warm up and music just comes out. I do have a donate, a PayPal donate button link. I'll have to find it for you. I can put that up in a few minutes here. Thanks for asking. Let's see here. What's my opinion on Emirati artists like Mahad Hamad or Ali bin Ruga? Actually, I don't know those artists. I'd love to hear. I love the golf players. So if you do have, thanks for putting their names. I'll look them up if the spelling is consistent. I'd love to learn new artists and get familiar with guys that I'm not familiar with yet. But if you could describe, are they traditional kind of golf musicians, or are they kind of more modern? All right. Can tell which melodies you'll be using to prepare for the workshop. So we'll be doing Maqam Hijaz. So definitely get familiar with the basics of Hijaz. 1 sec here. So we have the starting note D, E flat. I might play it a bit sharper than an E flat. Then F sharp might be a little bit flatter than an F sharp. G, A, B flat, C, and D. And sometimes we use B half flat with the pinky there. So get familiar with this. Maybe, let's see, I can't remember the template that I made off the top of my head. I have to look at it. But this one's going to be not going to be too complicated. We're going to start the, Hijaz starts around this zone. And usually ends here on the tonic. Now some Hijaz don't start and end here. Some start maybe here. Like Fawqa Nakhal, that song starts on the G. In the term in Layla, Farid al-Atrash, it starts on A, the fifth. Or Aya Zain, this Zain al-Abidin. You see how it always ends da 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 da, comes down like that. And rests there. So any melodies like that, any songs that are in Hijaz, maybe go listen to search Taqsim Hijaz, or find another song that's in Hijaz, listen to them, get acquainted, get your ear familiar with that vibe that's happening, and that might help. Let's see here. Yeah, that's a good point, Robert. Sometimes the instrument sometimes does suggest a melody, and that might be partly the open strings. They really do help with the resonance of the instrument. Like, if I tune my instrument differently, sometimes I want to play different keys, or I want to play Hijaz in a different area, or Bayat in a different area. So it does affect, definitely. Playing for 2 years, and difficult to increase speed. What would you recommend? This might be counterintuitive, but a lot of people recommend playing slower in order to play faster. Practicing slower in order to play faster. And the reason is that is to get the muscle memory programmed properly and really be slow with it. Let's say you're trying to play just a scale. Something like this. Do it very slow. Start slowly and make sure you're doing everything correctly so that the muscle memory gets programmed correctly. And doing it a little bit every day. Focusing on something that you're unfamiliar with, but daily practice is important. Let's say you have only 5 minutes to practice. Make sure you do it because it's very important. As if Romsi, if you could tell me what you mean by discord, or is it discord? Dicord? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Thanks for the kind words, Robert. Always good to see you here. All right. So yeah, if you have any other questions about taqasim, I'd be glad to answer. Otherwise, I'll leave you with something. Oh yeah, I gotta get that donation link. I'll put that in the chat and in the description. It'll take a few minutes here. If you have any other questions, now's a good time to get them out. All right, I got it. Okay, here's the PayPal donate. I appreciate that. Oh yeah, Discord server. Yeah. No, I don't have one of those. Yeah, I've thought of that at times before. Maybe for the future. Very cool, very cool. Thanks for putting some of those artists' names in there. All right. All right. Thanks so much for watching. All right, let's see here. So the tuning. Tuning, last question. Tuning is C, G, D, A, F, and C. And this was Maqam Huzam on E half flat. And there were some other maqams in there. Ajam on C. There was Nahawand. On C as well. And yeah, there were some other little gestures to other maqams there. So thanks so much. Thanks for any donations. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. Really good to have you here. Again, there's the link in the description if you're interested in the Taqsim workshop. And email me if you have any questions. My email is support@OudforGuitarists.com. And yeah, have a great day, evening, wherever you are. All right, thanks. Bye.